Welcome back to another episode of the A Sports Podcast. My name's Art, here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Alex, I guess tonight we're releasing this on Sunday morning, Saturday night. Jake Paul is going to be taking on Tyron Woodley. Now, I would be the first to tell you that I'm tired of these YouTuber fights. I really am.
So am I.
But, dude, Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley are making this a lot bigger than I think it should be.
I think so.
And I think they're going to do actually pretty well when it comes to pay-per-view buys. I think they're going to do pretty well when it comes to selling tickets. I mean, what are your thoughts on Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul?
I think it's getting a lot of buzz right now.
Okay.
I think this is going to be the toughest fight for Jake Paul by far, right?
I agree.
Tyron Woodley's the guy that hits harder than any of the guys that Jake Paul's fought so far. Then again, I mean, who has he fought so far?
Yeah.
You know, he fought a fellow YouTuber. Then he fought Nate Robinson, who's never been in a fight.
And then
he fought Ben Askren, who should never be in a fight. You know, now he's going to fight Tyron Woodley, who has knockout power.
Yeah.
He is up there in age, though, is the only thing that concerns me. He's up there in age, and now that he's fighting Jake Paul, it's more on the downside of his career, per se. He was on the downhill in his UFC career. He took a lot of several losses. Who were the losses that he before Vicente Luque?
He lost to Covington. He lost to
Usman,
Burns, and Usman.
Right.
I believe those were the three straight that he lost, if I'm not mistaken. And then he lost to Vicente Luque, which was actually a pretty good fight for as long as it lasted.
Right.
You say Tyron Woodley has the power, but that's with like 4-ounce gloves. You know, this is going to be 10-ounce boxing gloves. I don't see Tyron Woodley generating that power that he had in the UFC. I just don't. That's why I think Jake Paul's going to win, and it hurts me to say that. It hurts me as a boxing fan to say that Jake Paul is going to win against Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley's not really a boxer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with the same thing. I hate Jake Paul. My heart and soul hates Jake Paul. But I feel like the boxing aspect of UFC is a lot different than the regular boxing.
Yeah.
People don't realize that UFC guys focus on not getting taken down. They got to focus on head kicks, leg kicks, kicks to the body. So I feel like a lot of people that think that, oh, okay, well, they have good hands in the UFC. It's definitely not the same thing. And I think I've come to see that.
And Tyron Woodley was a standout wrestler, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he hasn't been boxing his whole life. He was a wrestler growing up. So now he, you know, is going to try to transition to boxing. Jake Paul, believe it or not, look, like, as much as we hate Jake Paul and what he's doing, he's been boxing now for about 5 or 6 years, like seriously. Like he took some amateur fights, obviously transitioned to pro, making a lot more money than he should. But for him being 3-0, these are the type of fights that he should fight.
Right.
I think if there was a top up-and-coming prospect at 2-0, 3-0, fighting Tyron Woodley, they would beat Tyron Woodley. Do you agree?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, betting wise, I think Jake Paul's like minus 175. So he's a heavy favorite, not heavy favorite, but he's the favorite over Woodley, who's like a plus 200-ish around there, depending on what bookie you're using. Are you putting any money on this fight?
I don't think so. I mean, if I am going to put money on it, I'm going to have to put it on Jake Paul, because the several times that I have put it on guys fighting Jake Paul does not seem to pan out for me. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but I think Jake Paul is going to probably take it. And I mean, what can you say about this fight? I mean, what about it? There's been a lot of circulation. Jake Paul's on Peds.
That's another thing. Actually, I don't think there's any testing for this fight.
He's definitely on Peds. I mean, if you look at what Tyron Woodley said, he told Jake Paul, "You wouldn't happen to be on Peds, would you?" Jake Paul looked like a deer in headlights. I mean, there's no other confirmation than that. I mean, there's no testing after the fight, I'm assuming, or
probably not
before. So he's definitely on Peds. I don't care what anybody says.
Wait till he has to fight in like Las Vegas or in California where they take this shit serious. New York, you won't see Jake Paul fighting in these big states.
He doesn't need to. He's generating this type of money and fighting. Fighting. Where are these guys fighting? In Miami?
In Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. Who fights in Cleveland, Ohio and still generates this type of
buzz?
A buzz. Yeah. I want to see Tyron Woodley go after Hector Lombard. Did you see what went down with Hector Lombard and Tyron Woodley? They had a confrontation that, I guess Tyron Woodley tried to, get at Hector Lombard's side chick. And
I heard about this.
Hector Lombard took a big offense to that. You know what I mean? The nerve of that prick, man, right? What am I going to do about it? I ain't going to do nothing about that, dude. Hector Lombard's a big-ass dude. Did you see the guy, like, after Hector Lombard won his bare-knuckle fight? Some dude tried to come up to him. Hey, Hector Lombard let that dude have it. I was like, holy shit. Don't go after Hector Lombard. That dude gained some weight. He's all business, man. Stay away from that guy.
Last thoughts on the Jake Paul fight. If I had to put some money on it, I'm putting money on Jake Paul.
Unfortunately.
I think it's an 8-round fight, if I'm not mistaken. I think that favors Jake Paul. Jake Paul by knockout is a pretty good bet also. I think it's a little, you win a little bit more than just the Jake Paul straight up. Right. So if you guys are into betting Jake Paul by knockout.
Don't get me wrong. I do want Tyron Woodley to win. I really hate Jake Paul.
I think Tyron Woodley's a UFC fighter or MMA guy, so he can't be beating no boxers. So Jake Paul needs to, if he really wants to claim boxing, he needs to beat these guys.
Yeah. He's on Peds, so.
Yeah. On the undercard, Amanda Serrano, great women's fighter.
Never heard of her.
Exactly. Unfortunately, they get no buzz. So, but I'll be watching because we'll watch the whole card. UFC Fight Night, we just finished watching Giga Chikadze get a nice victory over Edson Barbosa. You want to give any thoughts on that?
Hey, what's his name?
Giga Chikadze.
Giga, let me tell you, man, he's been on a tear at, what is it, the featherweight division?
145, yes.
Listen, man, this dude's been calling guys out left and right. A lot of guys are ducking him. He's been calling out Yair Rodriguez for the longest time. I'm not saying Yair Rodriguez is ducking him, but, Yair Rodriguez has yet to make and listen, I'm Mexican, man, so I'm going to side with Yair Rodriguez all the way. But you have yet to make a video. You have yet to accept a fight with this guy.
Yeah.
Get in there and fight him.
Yep.
Because this guy is a real deal. It seems he made it look like he was in a little bit of trouble.
He was.
Against Edson Barbosa in that second round. It looked like he was starting to run out of gas. He didn't like those body shots.
Agree.
But in that third round, he was able to just start picking apart Edson Barbosa, which was good. He calls out Max Holloway. What do you think about this one? We all know Max Holloway is a different beast.
I think Giga is about a fight or two away from the top names at 145. Champion Volkanovski, he's lined up to fight Ortega. I believe Giga was ranked 10 going into this fight. And Barbosa was 9. So this will obviously leap him over Barbosa. I mean, I say maybe against a 5 or a 6. I'm not sure what the rankings look like. But like you said, Yair's up there. Yeah. Yair's up there in the rankings. That's a good fight. I'm trying to think who else is up there in the rankings. But I think he needs 1 or 2 more fights before he gets to fight a guy like Max Holloway or even Ortega, the Ortega Volkanovski loser. I think he still needs another fight or 2 to get to that level. The Ultimate Fighter finales were on the undercard. Battle, what was his first name?
I don't know if it's Byron, but his nickname is Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear Battle. He was in trouble in that first round.
Oh, man.
Lost his mouthpiece early in the first round. Ref never saw it, never found it.
Who was the ref again?
I don't know who was the ref for that fight.
It was Herb Dean. Herb Dean was the ref. He's always making freaking mistakes. This guy fought the entire round with no mouthpiece.
And there was no stoppage in the action, nothing. I mean, he just went at it with no mouthpiece. He was in trouble, though, in that first round.
Oh, he was close to getting finished.
Yeah, he was, but he was able to come back in that second round and get a nice little rear naked choke. He had a pretty bad cut right next to his eye. But yeah, he's the Ultimate Fighter. Any thoughts on Battle?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd seen him fight in the Ultimate Fighter. I seen a couple of his fights, and he's just one of those guys that his stand-up game is really good. Not just that, but his size is a big dude for middleweight. And not just that, but he's more of I felt like before he was more of a stand-up fighter, but then he started to get his ground game involved in it. And then once he started to get his ground game involved, he was able to put his size on a lot of these guys. And then Gilbert Urbina, the guy that he just beat, he stepped in on 2 weeks' notice. The guy that he was supposed to fight, I'm not sure of his first name, but his last name is Gordon. Unfortunately, he got injured or something, so they got Gilbert Urbina 2 week notice, and hey, he put up a good fight, but what can you say? Pooh Bear Battle, the Ultimate Fighter finale winner.
Great story.
And he was the last pick. Nobody wanted the guy. Nobody wanted that guy on their team. Alex Volkanovski picks him with his last pick, and look he beats. But actually, to get to this point, he beat the first seed.
He beat the number 1 seed. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Ultimate Fighter, and he's the Ultimate
Fighter winner.
Yeah, and hey, tip my hat off to that guy.
Great story there. The other finale was the bantamweight final, I believe. Pretty Ricky. How do you say the last name? Tercios. Him and was it Headstrand or Headstrand? Something like that was his last
Brian
name?
Headstrand.
Yeah, that was a great fight. I personally, before we talk about Tercios, I think Headstrand, whatever his last name was, I think he deserves a contract too because he put on a hell of a fight. Great performance by both guys, but Tercios, I think, pulled it out. What'd you think of Pretty Ricky?
Man, I've seen this guy fight on the Ultimate Fighter this season. I was watching the entire season. This dude is freaking crazy. Let me tell you, his fighting style is not suited to be in the UFC for too much longer. Yeah. Because you take beatings like that, and it could be hazardous to your health. Actually, it will be hazardous to your health.
It will be.
But nonetheless, this guy's in an exciting fight. Every fight that he's in, he's just one of those guys that he may not be technically sound. He needs some improvement, but he's got the cardio. He's got the striking, the ground game. He's a good, well-rounded fighter. Just needs a little bit more of adjustments.
A little fine tuning.
Yeah, his cardio's good, and he has the heart of a freaking lion. So
yes.
Hey, Ultimate Fighter winner, Ricky Tercios. Love anybody who has not watched one of his fights, you need to go on the Ultimate Fighter right now and go watch his fights. Exciting fighter.
Oof. He laid it all out there. He got hit with some big shots, but he was also able to give some big shots back.
The dude is flat out crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy fight. It was a great fight.
I mean, he is absolutely insane to watch. I think he fought 3 times on the Ultimate Fighter. All 3 fights were just like this fight. So everybody needs to go out there and check it out.
One other fight I think we want to talk about real quick. Kevin Lee drops a decision to Rodriguez. What was his first name?
Daniel
Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez has been on a roll. I believe he's on a 6. He's won 6 of his last 7. He was a late replacement for this fight because Kevin Lee's other opponent dropped out. But Daniel Rodriguez has been on a roll in the UFC. What are your thoughts on Rodriguez?
Man, listen, coming into this fight, I was favoring Daniel Rodriguez even though he was an underdog. I was favoring him because Kevin Lee has had a rough patch as of late.
Yeah.
After he beat Gregor Gillespie, I think he had a little bit of a layoff. Mm-hmm. Even when he beat Gillespie, I think he had a bit of a layoff.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah, so he beats Gillespie, he has a layoff, and then he fights Charles Oliveira. And in that Charles Oliveira fight, he had a really good first round. I was like, wow, Kevin Lee looks really good.
Yeah.
Gasses out in that second round. By the third round, he was completely gone. Yes. And then he gets submitted, right? Mm-hmm. And then he has even a longer layoff.
I don't think he fought during COVID, did he?
Well, that Charles Oliveira fight was during COVID because
that was right at the beginning.
There was no fans.
Yeah.
That was like the beginning of COVID. And then So that's why I favored Daniel Rodriguez, because I felt like he was a little bit more active. Not that he fought too much.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like Kevin Lee was on a little bit of a, he would fight at 170, then he would go back at 155, then he would have a big layoff. And he's like a big, he's a built dude.
Yeah, he is. Big, muscular guy.
Yeah, so imagine him having to cut down to 155, and then you're on a layoff. I'm pretty sure he eats pretty good during a layoff, right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody does. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Daniel Rodriguez was the most fit guy either. He looked a little flabby.
Yeah.
But
he did take the fight on short notice. So
how much of a short notice was
I
it?
think it was like 2 weeks or something like that.
Really?
3 weeks, something like that.
He beat Kevin Lee on a 3 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, that's a feather in his cap right there.
Yeah. That Kevin Lee is a good win. And especially him winning 6 of his last 7. Like he said, he's ready for a crack at the top 15, which is what the UFC ranks.
Mm-hmm. He's an exciting guy to watch, man. This dude likes to stand and bang, man. That's what people like to see.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, where does Kevin Lee go from here? Because he's been making changes. He's been trying to figure out his career, and it just seems like he's already hit the peak and he's kind of on his way down.
So I'm not sure what's going on with Kevin Lee right now. It feels like he fights. He looks okay, and
Dude,
then
he looked good.
He'll either gas out or he'll be he'll just be inactive. I think he needs to stay active. Even if he gets a loss or whatever, just stay active, and I think he will his time will come, because he's more of he's a really well-rounded fighter. Like I feel like his stand-up game is good. His wrestling is second to none. Like he stood in there on the ground with Charles Oliveira for a full round, and I didn't think he was in any trouble.
Yeah.
Like and to be on the ground with Charles Oliveira, you can get submitted at any point. So the fact that he was there for an entire round, and he was still able to take him down in the second round when he was gassed out. And even Daniel Rodriguez was lucky in this fight, because he did get taken down a few times, right?
Yeah, and then it seemed like Kevin Lee just didn't have any more on his takedowns in that third round, because he was stuffed like 3 times in that third round.
Yeah.
Where a takedown could have easily sealed that third round for him, and
even
helped him win that fight.
Even in one of the rounds, he took Daniel Rodriguez's back, and then Daniel Rodriguez was able to just kind of reverse it, and he ends up on top. Usually when Kevin Lee takes the back, guys don't get out of that.
Exactly.
So I think it was his gas tank. I think his gas tank just kind of let up on him, and unfortunately it didn't end too good for him.
Yeah, I think the activity is a big deal for Kevin Lee. Anything else you want to? Oh, how about Mearshart? Mearshart pulls off the upset. I think he was a 6-1 underdog, beating Muradov.
He was on the verge of getting finished in that first round.
Muradov had him hurt in that first round. Then it seemed like Muradov might have emptied his tank trying to go for the stoppage, and then he didn't get it, so he was in trouble after that.
Yeah, definitely.
Any last thoughts on the UFC Fight Night?
Not on the UFC Fight Night, but I do want to say I would like to take a moment of silence for my man, J.K. Dobbins.
Hopefully he's okay, because he had a scary knee injury. We're gonna start talking fantasy football here soon on the podcast, so
I don't give a rat's butt about the Ravens. I care about my fantasy team, man, and I got J.K. Dobbins. So everybody out there right now, J.K. Dobbins fell to way behind Gus Edwards. So I don't know what's gonna go on. What do you think's gonna? I don't know. What do you think he's gonna go down? Torn ACL, torn PCL, MCL.
From what I read,
hyperextension.
Yeah, from what I read, it's a hyperextended knee. Obviously, from looking at the video, a couple people that I saw on Twitter said that the ACL doesn't get damaged when you bend your knee that way.
Okay.
So
it didn't seem like that. It seemed like he was more of a, like, what was it? Like his knee bent out, right?
The wrong way, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't bend like. Who had an injury like that where their foot got like planted a little bit in the ground?
Where it bends to the side. If it bends to the knee bends to the side, that's when you have an issue. But because it got pushed straight back in, it's not really an ACL tear. It could be a PCL or an MCL from what I read. So tests on Sunday. Hopefully the tests come out good for Dobbins and good for the team, but it didn't look too good.
Yeah.
It didn't look too good. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of the AA Sports Podcast. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, guys.